All right, let's start this thing off on the right foot. So, I know this has been a long time coming, which is why I figured I'd begin with a game that I really should have talked about more than a few months ago, but due to a variety of factors, that obviously didn't happen. So this whole quick review thing is going to be, well, what the title suggests. Quick. The point is to keep these videos under 10 minutes. Put them out as soon as I can get around to it, and that's it. Most of the games I cover here will be games that I'm not Let's Playing for whatever reason, even if that doesn't actually exclude the game from getting a Let's Play someday down the line. Maybe I just don't have the time to get to it immediately, or that game doesn't work for the format, or, and probably the least likely option, is that I just didn't like the game but managed to somehow finish it anyway. This is meant to be concise, spoiler-free, and more or less a summary of my thoughts, complete with a score at the end, and I'm not scoring these off of any predetermined system. This isn't IGN, this is just mine, so do the best that you can to not put your opinions in the place of mine. I'm not Metacritic approved, I'm not here to score things in the way that you might be used to. In fact, here's a handy guide that I threw together in Microsoft Excel as a way of just seeing the way I score things. Just because something gets a 6 or a 7 out of 10 does not mean I think it's trash. I like to use the full spectrum of numbers as opposed to other outlets, so hopefully that makes sense. This is also just my opinion, so keep that in mind as well. Reviews are subjective after all, and I don't want to pretend mine are anything but. And someday, I will get around to making longer, spoiler-filled, more detailed reviews, but again, that's not what this is. This is also the first and only time I'll be doing an intro of any sort for this kind of video, so yeah, I think that about covers everything. Without further ado, let's begin. Video games are, to me, one of the most unique art forms in the world, and while we've seen examples of its artistic merits explored many times over the years, it only feels like within the last 10 has there been this surge of creatives who are actually pushing the boundaries of what video games are actually capable of. Indie games are obviously at the forefront of this entire push because AAA games have no interest in it. The wealthy only invest their money in sure things, even if those sure things are absolutely going to be sure failures in anyone's mind but their own. They know they want a return, but gambling on what-ifs is risk-taking, and it's scary, so they'd rather be blatantly stupid and fundamentally misunderstand their audience by expecting the same joke to land for the 12th time in a row, when actually what they could do is use the talent that works under them for peanuts to come up with things that are even half as creative as what Dogubomb released earlier last year with the game Blue Prince. Now, what you're seeing here today isn't actually footage I recorded for this review, but the leftover scraps of what was supposed to be a Let's Play that I was planning on doing for this game that unfortunately fell apart about 2/3 of the way through. And it wasn't for lack of trying, but it was because this game is so unlike anything I've ever played before that it just didn't work for the Let's Play format. Blue Prince is extremely clever in its design, yet also very singular-minded, very simple. The concept could not be more easy to understand. You're given a layout that resets each day, and every time you go through a door, you're given an opportunity to pick one of 3 rooms. You use these rooms to connect your way to the final room to win the game. That's the premise. It's a puzzle game. The sheer number of ways this game manages to stretch that concept to its absolute limit, however, is beyond incredible, because what if I told you that you can't just make it to the end and win? What if I told you that there are dozens and dozens of rooms that only appear under special circumstances and in special sections on the grid? What if I told you that there are puzzles outside of the bounds of the central puzzle? What if I told you that there are additional puzzles within the puzzle itself and that there are literally millions of permutations to be found with merely hundreds of answers? Nothing about this game holds your hand or guides you to the answer. It lays out its rules very clearly, then proceeds to shock and wow and mystify you time and time again with the way it comes up with different answers. I can think of at least 20 different moments throughout this game where I was completely blown away by just how brilliantly it would conjure up something new, or how small it would make me feel every time I thought I had something solved. I spent so much of my time just sitting awestruck at the many different things that it would throw at me, even in spite of my occasional frustration. I would go through many runs where absolutely nothing would happen because this game is uncompromising. There's no need for forgiveness in its design when every failure comes with a lesson learned by the player. Every struggle comes with something to be gained, and I think what makes this game in particular so excellent is that unlike something as pretentious as, let's say, The Witness, for example, even though that I know what Dogubomb has created here is so much more intelligent than I could ever be, rather than talk down to me, act pretentious, and berate me for not being as clever as the game thinks it is, like The Witness, this game actually has the complete opposite effect. Every time I do something, the game actually gave me a job well done. It gave me an attaboy. It gave me a congratulations. It's not trying to outsmart me as much as it's trying to make me earn its secrets. And every time I unlock one, every time I get a reward, I got this incredible sense of thrill for having made it over that hurdle, and I think it's because some of it can be so hard fought. Not all of it, though. The sense of progression is actually very well realized because there are some moments that you can just stumble upon that seem just as much of a big deal as some of the ones that you actively work towards. It's all interspersed within, subtly intertwining both types of rewards in a way that makes them feel equally valuable. It's very intelligent in its reward structure in that way. I wish I could go into more detail as to exactly what I mean, but any examples feel like a spoiler. Not because they'd necessarily qualify as a quote-unquote big spoiler to people who've played the game, but because the very sense of discovery that Blueprints is all about is so integral to the experience that I wouldn't dare ruin it for anybody. It's just that good. Maybe someday I'll be able to make a more in-depth video about this game and talk about it at length and go over spoilers and stuff, but gonna be honest, as much as I love this one, I don't know if I'll ever be qualified enough to do that. Because for everything that I'm saying, I don't think I'm actually very good at this game. This game genuinely stumped me at so many points, and while it was excellent and felt amazing to overcome those moments, I had to eventually concede that seeing the ending was the most I could ever expect to do, and all of the extraneous challenges beyond that are just way beyond my comprehension. I'll leave it to some of those people, and you know who they are, to truly break down every aspect of Blueprints in depth. I'll just be here, singing its praises in vague terms, knowing that I managed to beat it, but didn't manage to complete it, and I'll just talk about it with my friends once they've also played it for themselves. Blueprints is genuinely generational in its design, a truly special, seminal moment for gaming that I really think flew under way too many people's radar this last year. And for all of the Clair Obscurs and the Kingdom Comes and the Silky songs everybody spent 2025 praising, Blueprints was my personal game of the year. And as we come back to quick reviews, it's only fitting that I give the very first game back, although I don't expect this very often, a 10 out of 10. And before I go, I would like to thank anybody who's watching this and who watches any of my stuff. Outros won't usually be the norm on these quick reviews, but I want to make it clear that I know I'm not the most consistent creator in the world, so I appreciate the patience and anybody who takes time out of their day to tune in and even just listen. I have a few of these reviews waiting in the wings before they start to slow down, and the next one is going to be on Pokemon Legends ZA, so expect that soon. And then the rest of them here and there over the next few months. And as always, thank you all so very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.